Hi, this is Freya and welcome back to Otherworldly. Dutchie has just released 4 different colors, scripted and full of animations, as well as a freebie leash handle that goes with the colors. Today we're going to be taking a look at that, and I've called in Rand to help me since somebody other than me needs to be holding the leash when we're demonstrating those functions. First, I thought I would give you a look at the different color types. Zoom in here, and you can see that one. This style, the plain metal band, is called Angel. Very versatile, goes with a lot of things. I quite liked it with this outfit from Zara that I nabbed on her 50% sale. I used to buy all sorts of Zara things, and then when she started creating just for Maitreya, there was a long gap where I didn't get anything because I didn't have a Maitreya body, and now I've caved in and gotten one, and then I decided to catch up on a few of these wonderfully textured designs, and looks just fantastic for this sort of thing. And the earrings, by the way, are a group freebie. Goes beautifully with the rest. In addition to this very, easy to wear collar, you've got a couple of different styles. This with a leather band and a little metal bell on for attaching the leash to is also fairly simple and fits with a lot of things, maybe more if have a bit of a harder edge, for example. And then you've got Charlie, which makes me think that it is a dog collar. We've actually used this one before, so you can see the leash popped into existence right away, because the last time we used it and tested it, I was being leashed already. All these, by the way, have different themes, which means you can change the colors. There's 6 colors on Bella, Charlie, and the last one, Dino. Angel has 3 metal options. And then the final one, I'm going to show that one as well, is Dino, which is a nice sort of full-on neck collar. You'll notice certain messages in the chat, which basically shows that I've already set some of these up with ownerships, and then the colors will basically tell you when somebody takes ownership of you and what sort of control level they have. But I'm going to go back to the Angel color because that's the one we're going to be working with. And I'm going to show you a couple of the menus, or actually I'm going to show you all of the menus. And then we are going to do a separate demonstration of the functionality that you have through the owner. So it's a little bit dependent on whether you have RLV enabled or not. I don't actually have RLV enabled in the viewer, but it seems that from the testing that I've done, that just having it on in the collar itself allows for some more control functions. I'm going to show you a few of those later. Lock, for example, if you are using RLV and you lock the collar, you won't be able to unlock it yourself. I can do it because I don't have it in the viewer and I currently don't have an owner. It's a fairly complicated script. There's open collar script, so there are certain variables to it. There is a very good manual from Dutchie for the basic functionality. But there are definitely some points where you might get a little confused on, okay, so am I owned or leashed or captured, or how does it work? I've had to spend some time working on that myself. So that's sort of the basic lock, whether you can detach or the collar or not. You've also got the settings menu that we already looked at with the themes. So here you see you have silver, gold, and copper. Then you have various options for the leash. Well, you can set a follow, which I think is independent from the leash. Alternatively, it adds a leash. Let's see what happens if I set myself to following. Well, he has actually accepted as well. So that's, again, just a one-sided. But there you see, he accepts. I set it up so that he accepts the follow, and there's no leash, but I will still be walking where he goes. The other options here, obviously, then I can go menu at timed out. I can take follow off, I guess. Oh, interesting, I can't. Unfollow. That would be the obvious way of doing it. The leash can also be anchored to items. As you can see, it picks a few things in the vicinity. I would recommend anchoring to simple things that are on ground level, because otherwise you never know where the anchor point is. Like on a house, you might be bounced around a lot. The leash can be passed. If a leash holder has it, they can be passed. I wonder if I can actually pass my leash to Van like that. Let's see. Yes, I can indeed take my leash, as you the information there, so I can take the leash and I can hand it to him. So that's a voluntary handoff, I suppose. Go back to the settings. Here I have the option still, because I'm in control. I can unleash myself. The length can be adjusted. I would not recommend going much over 3 meters, if that even. It gets very jerky when somebody moves around. We'll be demonstrating that a bit later. Themes we already looked at. Stealth. Well, you can have a stealth color, basically, that won't show up, but it still has the functionality. And then you have the bell that can be on or off when you're walking. So those are all the settings. We already looked at lock and RLV. Access is where you set up specific owners, trusted people, blocked people, group or public access, and also you can use the own self to have control over yourself. But if you give full control to another owner, they can actually take that off. If you're not in capture mode, you will get a question about it, but I don't think you'll get a question about it in capture mode. You can also run away, which essentially clears the access list and resets everything on the collar. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add Van as an owner. That he actually doesn't have to accept. That is automatic. The final thing we're going to look at here is capture. Capture is currently on. There, I take it off, and I'll put it back on. I can also put on risky capture, which means that I won't get a pop-up asking me if I'm okay with being captured. And this one seems to require you to have RLV enabled. When we took it off and tested, the capture option did not come up. When he clicked my collar, he just got the option to grab the leash. That's what he can do as an owner. When he, either if I've set him as an owner or trusted, or if it's public or group access, if we're in the same group, obviously he's able to touch the collar and grab the leash, but I can still get out of it as long as I've got own self. The capture mode is more controlling, in that it will actually turn off access to some of the menus while it is enabled. But that we are going to look at while we do a closer look at some of the other functions, for example, the animations. being a Dutchie product, there are, of course, a nice set of animations included, and that includes overrides for walks, a few couple animations because those are fairly tricky to do without items being raised, and a nice selection of different poses suitable for a slave. Obviously, those will be, you can trigger them yourself, but when you're on the leash, you can actually lock it so that only the owner can trigger them as well. The first thing that I'm going to have Ran do here is to initiate a capture, because I have turned capture mode on. So he clicks the collar and he's going to get a menu on his side asking whether he wants to capture me or not. Now, because I haven't got risky capture on, I can allow or reject it. I'm going to allow it in this case. So now he owns me and can control me. However, he still has to add the leash if he wants that. So there he clicks the collar again and he grabs the leash. There are obviously other ways to have a leash. You can just pass it, and as you see, a particle chain leash goes from the leash handle that he's got there to me. And then he, on his side, can set up things like the length of the leash. He can use the leash to yank me over if I'm standing further away. And let's demonstrate some walking to start with. Make sure you don't have it too long a leash. This is probably a little bit long for in here. I would shorten it to just 1 meter actually. So he's got all of those controls on his side. I'm going to show you when we stop later that there are limits to what I can do with the menu, or there should be anyway. And he can just walk around and I have to follow. He can also use the animation menu, and there I can set an animation lock or other. I could have set it beforehand, or he could set an animation lock now, which means that I can't show the animations. But for example, he could put on the bound walk, and then he walks away. And I am going to be hopping like a bunny, very fast, I have to say. The same if he switches to the crawl walk, for example. You're going to see that that overrides my animations as well. And you get messages, as you'll see here down in the corner. The color will tell me things. I believe you can actually turn these off as well. There are chat commands. You can use chat commands for a lot of these things, and you can use chat commands to control what you want to see in the chat. So now I have to crawl after him, and then I get stuck in him. A tip for when using this, if you use the Misty tool and you use the move lock, it can cause problems, especially with the couple poses, which are a bit of a workaround anyway, because using couple poses when you don't have a rest object is very difficult, so you sort of have to fit the avatars together anyway. And then if you have the move lock on, you just bounce apart. So I was thinking we were going to look a little bit at, first of all, I'm going to show you what I meant with the collar here. So I go in, so small that I kind of have to aim a little bit. Now, if I go to access, it says access denied while capture is active. Same with capture, I can't actually take any of these off. The easiest way to get out of capture is simply to relog. The script, the OpenColor script, has some functionality for chat commands, like a safe word. Was not able to get that fixed or working. I know that she said the same, that it can be very dodgy, these scripts. So decided to, in the menu, in the manual, she focused on the relogging as the option, and it certainly is the one that always works. So let's see if we can use the poses here, or if I'm going to end up in weird, I'm probably going to end up in weird positions because I'm standing on the steps. So let's go forward a little bit, and let's test some poses. Maybe give a little more leash length so that I'm not following you quite so annoyingly closely. There we go. And if you were to move backwards now a little bit, I'm being fiddly here, or out of the light actually, so get a bit better option. There we can go. And then if you turn yourself around and stay right there, okay, now you can initiate some poses, some animations rather. That's what. So you've got some bound stands like this. It doesn't rest any hand ties or any cuffs or anything like that, so you'd probably want to add that for yourself. Various kneels and a little bit of protesting. I think there's some 40 different solo animations that you've got here, so a lot of different options. Your leash holder can keep you busy for quite a while. Keep doing a few more of them to show what's available. Obviously, you have issues sometimes with how much you sink into the ground or not. I would say that with something like this, hover height is a good way of getting around it. It's going to work in most scenarios if you just give yourself a little more hover height. So you can just assume that you are getting various commands from the guy standing there holding your leash, and probably not planning to let it go anytime soon. Could get inconvenient, but let's see. I'm gonna have a look and see if I have access to that menu myself right now. Yes. Here you see it says that I am allowed to change and stop poses on my own, and that I can relax my neck. So I can actually change these, like I could take off the crawl walk myself, as long as the animation lock isn't set. So here I could actually give you a little bit of a look at the options. There are, as you see, a number of menus. Bows, kneels, various versions here. So you've got all of those options, and then you've got a stop as well. If you still have control yourself, you can use that. It's a very nice little system, I have to say. And like I said, the leash handle is available as a freebie at the store, so you can get all your friends to pick one up. And then you might want to be careful about whether you set the access on the collar to owner or public or group, because then anyone could potentially end up as your owner. Obviously, if you have own self checked, you have some more control, but an owner can also uncheck that. But again, relogging or using the runaway option are always going to be there for you. Like, I can't use the runaway at this moment because I can't get to access or settings because capture is on. So you relog and then you use the runaway option, and then it clears it, and nobody can tie you up and or tie you to a post somewhere and leave you any longer. But it is a really nice roleplay toy, I think. The styles are easy to match with different kinds of outfits. I'll say this one is very discreet, and you could wear it with just about anything, or you can use the stealth option. Obviously, that gets a little more weird. I don't actually know how it handles the leash in the stealth option. Can you see if you can change that for me? Actually, I'm going to see if I can do this. No, never mind. I can access stealth myself. Yes, as you see, it only takes off the collar. It doesn't take off the leash itself. But if you presume that you had some other collar that is just decorative, and you set the actual functional one to stealth, you could do that and have it fit with all sort of different outfits. I will have more details, of course, in the post about what I'm wearing, the outfit and the earrings from Zara. This, of course, is the Quinta Palace from Fanatic that I showed in another video. I'll have some details on what Ran is wearing as well. It's an outfit from Stitched, who does, one of the best at doing male roleplay outfits. Currently working on the grid, so that's where you want to go if you want to have some nice medieval Roman fantasy outfits for men. So all of that will be in the post, as well as links to Dutchie and prices for the collars and so on. I think that's hopefully a good introduction to this collar, and should be useful if you haven't tried it yourself to get a sense of how the open collar script works. So there is also a very detailed menu available on Dutchie's website, and you will definitely want to read it if you get a collar, because it takes a bit of figuring out to get a handle on exactly how it works.